I want to start off giving all glory and praises to Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai by Shem Kakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Millstones. And salutations to the Akims, the brothers and the Aquas, the few sisters out there pushing this truth. This is the brother Yashar coming in from the camp, Children of Light. As you can see, another chapter of Wisdom of Solomon. We on chapter 15. Nope, so like we on chapter 16 this week. And chapter 15 was going into the Israelites back then, in the times of really starting, of course, starting in Egypt, but even up until today, worshiping false gods, false idols, with and that's one of the the main commandments that Most High Yahweh established. He gave Moses was, "Thou shalt not worship any idols, any idols before me," to paraphrase it. So that was what chapter 15 was going in. And chapter 16 is basically showing how through the Most High's mercy that he gives only to Israel. Remember, we the only chosen nation from the Most High. But through his mercy, and really, you have to have the mercy, but really it starts with having the knowledge and, and keeping his commandments. And once you start to do that, things start to change. And even when in the midst of your enemies being punished, you can actually still be saved. Remember, we only talking about Israel though, so let's get into it. It says, Wisdom of Solomon chapter 16, verse 16. Therefore, by the like were they punished worthily, and the multitude of beasts tormented. Instead of which punishment, dealing graciously with thine own people, thou preparest for them meat of a strange taste, even quails to stir up their appetite. And that's in Numbers chapter 11, verse 31 to about 35. Israel, you can read into it. Israel, they were basically complaining, and the Lord he sent them quails, and they was gathering it up. It said to each man, the man with the least amount of quails, he had about 10, So, and then as soon as they started to eat it and enjoy it, the Lord became furious with his people again, and he smote them, at that time, then and there. Like I said, that's in Numbers chapter 11, around the 30th verse, if you want to read into it. It's verse 2. Instead of which punishment, dealing graciously with thine own people, see that? Not all the other nations, thine own people. Thou preparest for them meat of a strange taste, even quails to stir up their appetite, to the end that they, desiring food, might for the ugly sight of the beast sent among them loath even that. And to loathe something, that means to be disgusted for, to dislike something. So the animals that was around them, that was in that land at that time, they wasn't feeling that, and pretty sure they was abominated, So the Lord had to go ahead and send them a blessing so they could eat. To the end that they, desiring food, might for the ugly sight of the beast sent among them loath even that, which they must needs desire. But these, suffering penury, and penury is extreme poverty, for a short space, might be partakers of a strange taste. Okay. And basically, man, when you look at verse 4, just to give the definition of a few of those words. Verse 4 says, "For it was requisite, that means made necessary. So for it was made necessary that upon them exercising tyranny should come penury, which was what? Extreme poverty, for a short space might be made partakers of a strange taste." And then Salakia, I was reading verse 3 and 4. Verse 4, for it was requisite that upon them exercising tyranny should come penury, which they could not avoid, and those was them plagues in Egypt, all right? But to these it should only be showed how their enemies were tormented. See that? Because why? Once again, that's the separation between being the chosen seed of the Most High, the Israelite, Yasharallah, and being a member of the other, a seed of the other nations. The Most High, he deals with us as his chosen people, so he can take out our enemies one by one. It don't mean nothing because the world is not built for them and built around them, and we're gonna get into that. All right, coming up in 1 Corinthians is a precept, but verse 5 is, matter of fact, yep, it's time to get it anyways. Just showing how even amongst our enemies being smote by the Lord, he still preserved us. It's 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I would that ye should be ignorant. I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud and all passed through the sea. Remember, we was walking through Egypt, and remember that chariot that was guiding us in the sky, right? You know, nighttime, light time. It's dark, pitch dark in the wilderness. You gonna need something to guide you. And it says, and all passed through the sea. Remember the Red Sea, which, you know, like Elder Torah said, it wasn't actually the Red Sea, it was the Levant. All right. And if you look at it, it does make sense because it's like a skinny body of water that separates. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and get it. Let's go ahead and look it up. Check out them landmarks and maps and land masses. All right, so you can see. Let's see. What is it called nowadays? It's called the Strait, not the Bering Strait. I think that's in like Alaska. Bering, Pacific. Damn. The Suez Canal. That's what I'm trying to reference. Here we go. The Suez Canal. As you can see, it splits Egypt or Africa in the Middle East. All right. Let's see, we get a better picture though. And as you can see, it makes sense because this is how that makes perfect sense. How he split the water so they could cross, you know? If you look at this picture right here, it wasn't, cause think about it, you know, not because I wasn't there, you know what I'm saying? We actually was there, it's through reincarnation, but if you talking about the Red Sea, that's a large body of water, so that's a lot of walking. It would make sense to, oh damn, we get to this canal, all we gotta do is cross over. How we gonna do it? Oh, the Most High split the sea real quick. We'll split the canal real quick. Matter of fact, let's do this real quick. I'm gonna get back into it. Does the Suez Canal separate Africa? Let's do this in Israel. Africa, well, not exactly Israel. The Middle East. Okay, here you go. Yes, the Suez Canal separates Africa from the Middle East. So that's what it goes back to, man. So just a little history on that. In verse 2, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, because remember, he's the chief cornerstone. It says, but with many of them the Most High was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted. Neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Right? Just showing that that haughty spirit of Israel, you know, ready to commit spiritual fornication with all different types of religions, philosophies, and everything. You know, just like nowadays, motherfucker, they you know, if you think about it, shit, motherfuckers go get full, get drunk, and they finna have a good time, and now they ready to play, ready to get into all types of wickedness. Verse 8, neither let us commit fornication as some of them committed, and fell in one day 23,000. So this is where it kicks in at. So this is talking about, I know I just, explained Israel's fornication and whoredom against the Most High, but this is actually talking about Egypt, the Egyptians, because they the ones that fell in one day 23,000. It says, neither let us tempt you, and that was the whole point of the plagues. That's why we was saved through those plagues. That's why we had the first Passover through the plagues. Why it's called Passover. We was passed over from that. And the Egyptians was cast down so the Most High's name, God of Israel, could be exalted. See, it all goes back to Israel, all right? It all goes back to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua and his people, and everything else comes after. It says, verse 9, neither let us tempt the Mashiach, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents, and we're going to read into that as well. That also happened to the Egyptians. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now all these things happen unto them for ensamples, or an example, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Right. So, all right, let's get back into that wisdom of Solomon. Because once again, the world is the people. The world ain't built for the people. Ain't built for the world. The world built for the people. All right, Israelites. Wisdom of Solomon 16 and we at 5. It says, for when the horrible fierceness of beasts came upon these, and they perished with stings of crooked serpents, thy wrath endured not forever. But they were troubled for a small season, that they might be admonished, having a sign of salvation, to put them in remembrance of the commandment of thy law. Right. So basically, it took us, our enemies, to get punished right in front of us for us to realize, oh, what we doing? We was just doing what they doing. So let's go ahead and correct that. You know, because there's nothing to, 1 Samuel 2 and 6. The Lord killeth and he make alive. It's nothing for him to just take you out for being wicked. Verse 7, for he that turned himself toward it was not saved by the thing that he saw, but by thee that are the Savior of all. Right. It's only one Savior. It's not Jesus, not Buddha, not false prophet Muhammad, none of that. It's Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Verse 8, and in this thou madest thine enemies confess that it is thou who deliverest from all evil. Right. Because even the Egyptians had to confess and exalt Yahweh's name. Like, dang, like, at first they were just like, yeah, whatever. No, then he put that power on them, had them going through darkness and plagues and all that. 7 plagues of Egypt and all that. I said 7. What is it, 7? How many plagues? Oh yeah, it's like 10. Because I'm thinking of the 7 trumpets. All right, so 10 plagues in Egypt. Now you only got seven trumps, 7 different phenomenons finna happen in 1 hour, and that's how America gonna get destroyed. And yeah, it's gonna be a beautiful sight to see for the elect, and it's gonna be a bad sight to see for the rest of the world. Verse 8, and in this thou madest thy enemies confess that it is thou who delivers from all evil. Verse 9, for them the bitings of grasshoppers and flies killed, neither was there found any remedy for their life. That's the plagues, for they were worthy to be punished by such. But thy sons, thy sons is who? The Israelites. And you see it says sons. It don't even say sons and daughters. That means, that shows you the Most High is stamping that order. He basically stamping that order. Like, no, I'm not dealing with the women. I give the women I give my sons, the Israelites, they deal with the women. All right, I deal with the men, and they instruct the women. That's how the order goes. So it says, verse 10, but thy sons, not the very teeth of venomous dragons, overcame. That's them serpents that was spoken about earlier. For thy mercy was ever by them, and healed them. For they were pricked, that they should remember thy words, and were clipped. So like, let me scroll down, because I'm reading out the book. It says, let's see, verse 11. For they were pricked, that they should remember thy words, and were quickly saved, that not falling into deep forgetfulness, they might be continually mindful of thy goodness. We have to be in that same attitude today. As the days go by, we only remember, this was 5,000 plus years ago. 5,000 years later, 2025, so-called, we don't know how long we got left in this world. We don't know we got 8 months. We don't know we got 2 years. We don't know we have 4 years in a month. We don't know. So, but we do know that, hey, think about that Edomite doomsday clock. It said, what, 98? Or, basically like 98% complete is what I meant to say. So, hey, man, we got to keep being diligent, keep being faithful to the Most High, and keep the works going, James 2 and 17. Oh, look at that. Esau thought he had me. He tried to close the video on me. Anyways, verse 14, verse 13, it says, "For thou hast power of life and death. Thou leadest to the gates of hell and bringest up again. A man indeed killeth through his malice, and his spirit, when it is gone forth, returneth not. Neither the soul received up cometh again. But it is not possible to escape thine hand," right? Because the Most High controls everything. "For the ungodly that denied to know thee were scourged by the strength of thine arm. With strange rains, hails, and showers were they persecuted, that they could not avoid. Through fire were they consumed." Okay? So the Most High is putting them plagues on them. It says, "For which is most to be wondered at, the fire had more force in the water that quencheth all things, for the world fighteth for the righteous." Right? So the Most High had supernatural phenomenons going on. And guess what? The elect, I mean, yeah, well, the elect too, but at that time, all of Israel, they wasn't being touched. So you had something like this going on. But no. We talking about the Most High. Let's magnify. Like, let's see. Imagine this. Imagine you swimming and it's fire in the water. So that means you gotta stay underwater. But then we humans, we can't do that for no more than 2-3 minutes. So as soon as you come up from the water, you get burned. That's spiritual power. That's Ecclesiastes 39:28 all day. Let's go to it real quick. So like Ecclesiasticus. Ecclesiasticus, that's the literal spirit. All right. It says verse 28, "There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes, and in the time of destruction they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them." Right? It's the Most High. Fire and hail, see that? Fire and hail and famine and death. All these were created for vengeance. "Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and the sword punishing the wicked to destruction." See that? And we just read about all that in Wisdom of Solomon. "Oh, but I ain't see water in there." Well, guess what? You better see it, because you don't. I don't think you gonna be one of. Matter of fact, you gonna see it anyways. Because I was just talking to the elder, because I was like, dang, anybody that got like a house by a lake or a river or ocean, soon as the missiles touch down, you might get hit. You might get hit by the waves of the water before the shock wave of the missile even hit you. So you finna get hit twice. And the elder said, yeah, that's because they over with. So hey, you got to figure that out. Verse 18. "For sometime the flame was mitigated, that it might not burn up the beasts that were sent against the ungodly." So the Most High had it to where, just say if you in the ocean, right? And Most High, he put a fire on the land and he burning up the Egyptians. He scabbing them and they run to the water. They get in their boats. And then he put a fire in the water, but it don't even kill it don't even touch the fishes. The fish is actually is swimming graciously right through the fire in the water. Imagine that, Like, that's what I'm thinking about it right now. And I'm like, yeah. So Most High purposely had this set out for these Egyptians. It says, I'm reading it again, verse 18. "For some time the flame was mitigated, that it might not burn up the beasts that were sent against the ungodly, but themselves might see and perceive that they were persecuted with the judgment of the Most High. And at another time it burneth even in the midst of water above the power of fire, that it might destroy the fruits of an unjust land." See, that was Egypt. "Instead whereof thou feddest thine own people with angels' food, and didst send them from heaven bread, prepared without their labor, able to content every man's delight, agreeing to every taste." So they was in there, you know how you eating something, you like, damn, it's good, damn. Like, man, it's good, man, this is hitting, this is smacking. Like, who cooked this? Man, this that heavenly bread, all right, that angel bread, real life. It says, verse 21, "For thy sustenance declared thy sweetness unto thy children, and serving to the appetite of the eater, tempered itself to every man's liking." So basically, we all got different taste buds, right? So they say, well, that day we all had the same taste buds because everybody was enjoying it, right? And so it just basically goes to show how even though the Most High is harshly punishing our enemies, you turn around and what he doing to his people for following him, he catering to us, He basically he giving us delicacies, all right? Heavenly delicacies at that. Because we know as Israelites we love to eat. Verse 22, but snow and ice endured the fire and melted not, that they might know that the fire burning in the hell and sparkling in the rain did destroy the fruits of the enemies. But this again did even forget his own strength, that the righteous might be nourished. It says, nourished. For the creature that serveth thee, remember the creature is the human, us, the humans, Israelites. It's all humans. It's considered creatures, but we dealing with Israel right now. And you see how I keep saying it over and over and over to highlight it. All right. So we all see the fakers and the shakers coming. Hebrew Israelites, they don't know what they talking about. We don't have to deal with them no more. The order has already been given. The decree has already been set. We know who he is. We know what he is. We know what we're here to do. Simple as that. And we know that we got to do this until the end. So let's do it. Verse 25. Verse 24. For the creature that serveth thee, who art the maker, increaseth his strength against the unrighteous for their punishment, and abateth his strength for the benefit of such as put their trust in thee. Therefore, even then it was altered into all fashions, and was obedient to thy grace, that nourished all things, according to the desire of them that had need. Right. And at that time, you might want to be obedient to the Most High, because we wasn't trying to get plagued like them Egyptians. That thy children, O Lord, whom thou lovest, might know that it is not the growing of fruits that nourisheth man, but that it is thy word which preserveth them that put their trust in thee. Right. So this ain't no physical battle. It ain't about who's the strongest and the biggest, and who the toughest and the buffest, and who can do the most. No, this is a spiritual battle. You can be physically strong and all that, but if you're not mentally sound or spiritually sound, spiritually talented, spiritually strong, then you have no hope of salvation. You're gonna have to see that all that strength you got at the end of the day, when you facing with Yahweh's judgment, that strength don't mean nothing, man. Remember, he said, Jacob, thou art thy worm. Jacob, thy worm, all right? So shit. Let's see, verse 25, verse 27. Verse 27 says, for that which was not destroyed of the fire, being warmed with the little sunbeams, soon melted away, that it might be known that we must prevent the sun to give thee thanks, and at the day spring pray unto thee. All right, so at the end of the day, pray without ceasing, For the hope of the unthankful shall melt away as the winter's hoar frost, and shall run away as unprofitable water. And at the end of the day, that's America's end all judgment. And we all know this. Those ICBM nuclear missiles, along with Yahushua, leading his army of angels, the Legion. Remember how they made that movie Legion? And who was the Legion? Who was the top angel? Michael the Archangel. Ma'akiah in the Hebrews. I gotta look that name up because it slipped. But other than that, man, definitely hope you brothers edified. Until next time, Shalom.